Well, my name is Fredericks, and I am the co-owner along with my wife, Kargi Gogo. I first went to Georgia back in 2010. My wife and I lived in Iowa and decided we wanted to do something different, so we went to Peace Corps. And at that time, you couldn't really choose where you wanted to go. You could say, oh, I want to go to a certain part of the world, and you might go there. So we said Eastern Europe sounded interesting to us, and so we got sent to Georgia and went over there, and we lived with a host family for about 2 years, and in that time really fell in love with the people, culture, the wine, and especially the food. And I remember early on eating hachapuri, which is Georgia's cheese bread, and just being amazed that I'd never had that before here in the States. And as time went on, that started to happen with some other foods, and by the end of our service, we were starting to think about coming back to the States and just not being able to get that food anywhere. Certainly not in Iowa. We were planning on coming to Portland anyway, because family out here, and we've been out here a few times and just really love Portland for all the reasons that everybody loves Portland. But there wasn't any hachapuri here, there wasn't any hinkali here. And we were looking for, you know, when you go to Peace Corps, you pack up all of your things and you leave the country for 2 years. So when you come back, it's kind of like a clean slate. You can do whatever you want to do. A lot of people go back to school, a lot of people go, you know, out to find work, and we decided let's see if we can make Georgian food for Americans. And so we started working on Kargi Gogo, food cart. At that time especially, Portland was a great place to start a food cart. And it was actually probably, I think, in the middle of the whole food cart wave here. We certainly weren't at the beginning of it. But you know, the middle, it kind of been established by that point. But there was no Georgian food cart here. And so we really wanted to take this food, but really market it to Americans, make it appealing to Americans. It's a food that most people haven't had, that most people can't pronounce, from a country that shares the same name as a U.S. state. So there are just tons of opportunities for confusion, and people have to take a risk, and we didn't know if people would take that risk or not. We didn't know. Our bar was very low when we started out. I think our first day when we opened the food cart, which was 2013, that we had a goal of selling 7 things all day. But by a month later, we wanted to be able to sell 10 things. Because we didn't know if people would come up and just like look strangely and walk away, or if they would try it. And we thought, well, if people try it, you know, we think the food is good, and we think that they'll think the food is good. So we were lucky. People did try it. They came, you know, more quickly than we expected. We were downtown, which was a good spot for us because we'd get a lot of tourists, but also get a lot of business lunch crowd. And we opened in March, right before summer, so we're kind of heading into the busiest season for the food carts, and it quickly turned into a situation where we were just trying to make more food faster. We were just trying to keep up, which is really good. But we were definitely in over our heads, and we were playing catch up the whole time. And you know, we had the cart from 2013 until the end of 2015, and through that time, the cart grew, the menu changed. We developed a lot of loyal customers. We were fortunate to get a lot of positive attention from, you know, press, from reviews, and so I don't know, people really latched on to this food and identified it as something that was different but still accessible, which is what I always thought it was. I mean, you know, hachapuri is cheese and it's bread. You know, everyone's had cheese bread. You know, everyone's had pizza. But Georgian hachapuri is just a little bit different. But if you try it, it's accessible enough, it's close enough to other things that you like, that there's an easy entry point to it. And I feel like it's that way with a lot of Georgian food. You know, by the end of the year, kind of by around November last year, there were just all these things that kept drawing me back to Georgia, and kept drawing me back to Georgian food, because I had decided I was not opening a restaurant. I mean, the entire 2 years between the cart and the restaurant, I would tell people, they're like, "Oh, you should open a restaurant, or when's Kargi gonna be a restaurant?" And I just didn't want to do it. But I would tell people, it's like, if you want to do it, I'll tell you how to do it. You know, it's like, I know how to do it, I just didn't want to do it. But by the end of last year, I wanted to do it again. And I think that for me personally, I just needed some time off and some perspective, and really to figure out if that's what I want to do. Because a restaurant is a huge investment, not just financially, but it's a lifestyle. You know, it's you know, emotionally, it's your time, it becomes your life. And so I wanted to make sure that that was the kind of thing that I wanted to do. For Kargi Gogo to work, for this restaurant to work, it has to work. It has to work in my life, and it has to work at the pace that works for me. And I've been really cognizant of that going into this from the very beginning, that I wasn't going to just go 100% restaurant and 0% anything else. Because I know from experience that is the path to burnout, and it just doesn't work long term. And so I've made a point from the beginning of having the restaurant be a part of my life, not my entire life. Now, you know, the few weeks around when we opened, the restaurant took on a bigger chunk of that, but I think things have settled down a little bit now, to the point where, yeah, I mean, I have my life at the restaurant, but I have my life outside of the restaurant too. One thing that I really value is that I want to be respectful, always be respectful to Georgia, Georgians, Georgian culture, Georgian food. You know, living there for 2 years, we have, you know, so many relationships. It's a personal thing. It's not just, oh, nobody's doing Georgian food, let's do that. You know, it's like, no, it comes from countless times spent around tables and in kitchens, and it's like, I always want to remain very respectful of that and those people and the things that we learned, and convey that in what we do here. You know, even like our bedroom when we were in Georgia had lace curtains. That's why we have lace curtains in here. A lot of the homes that we went into in Georgia have chandeliers, and that's why we have chandeliers in here. So there's little pieces of that I want to carry over, that people may not draw the line and say, oh, that's authentic or that's not authentic or whatever, but it's like, I know that it is, and I know where it comes from. So I want to do that now, and I want to continue to do that with all the decisions that we make, is be respectful to where this all came from. You know, and I guess in terms of Portland, you know, we really want to make good food. We want to do a really good job of what we do. We want to do the same thing for everybody all the time. We don't want, it's very important to me, like I love systems, so it's very important to me that people experience the same thing, whether they come at noon on a Tuesday or, you know, 9 o'clock on a Friday night, that the food's the same, the service is the same, and it doesn't matter who's working, it doesn't matter who's making the food, because we've dialed in those systems to create that consistent customer experience. Know what you want and have a clear vision for that, because along the way there's going to be a lot of input from a lot of different people about what your vision should be, and I think that you have to be pretty strong in what you know to know what to say yes to and what to say no to, and then it's okay to say no to things, but you have to have that through line of your own, you know, for your vision. So you have to know what you want, and then you have to have good people around you. I mean, if you're going to do anything on your own, the ceiling is so low for that. I mean, you start to get good people on board who understand what your vision is and buy into that as well. And then what you can accomplish just increases exponentially. And I think that a lot of people, young people especially, kind of go into things with an I, me kind of a thing. And it's that whole thing, and I was the same way. When you're young, it's like, I want to prove myself, I want to do this, I want to accomplish this. But it's really, there's only so much you can do with that kind of a mindset. Bring more people on board, you're going to get a lot more done. I look for people who are self-motivated, that have some kind of a drive in them that was there before they met me, before they came here, that they want to do well. People who are self-aware, who know what they're good at, what they need to improve on, know when to ask for help, know when to just take something and run with it. People who are honest and reliable, people that I can trust. I don't have anybody on the team, and never have had people on the team that I don't trust. And that's hugely important. We're the bright yellow building on the corner of 31st and Alberta in Portland. Also online at kargigogo.com and on all the social medias at Kargi Gogo US.